Hello and welcome to the Queber channel. I am Jason, your host, and this is going to be a extremely long-term review and thoughts about my valve index. This is my valve index. This is my old valve index. There's another valve index just up there, a new one. This one I've run for 5 years. It's still in pretty good shape. It's got a custom front plate which is actually broken now. It's got a crack in it. The side connector where this would actually clip on has broken. But apart from that, this has had 5 years of daily use. And I do mean daily use. Beat Saber, VRchat, Skyrim VR, Half-Life Alyx. The audio on it has failed. We think it's something in the board. And I thought, with this system and how amazing it is, I'd do a final teardown. Now, I won't be setting up a camera to see me do it, but what I'll be doing is taking pictures with my main phone as I do it, and I will put them, pause the video and show you. I still have my old chill blast. Out. That was always good for the summer to cool it. It's 2026 now. Why is it that I still put on my valve index just up there and use that instead of multiple other ones? I have tried out the Quest 2, the Quest 3, the Quest Pro. I have tried the Pimax, both the normal and the crystal. I have tried the Vive Pro. I have basically done a lot of research on other headsets, and nothing I have ever had felt as good as this. I've always said that the Quest 3 is a good headset if you want to be without a tether, but one of the big issues is that unless for certain circumstances, and especially if you're coming from something like that, if you are coming from something like this and try a Quest 3, something as comfortable as this, that you put on your head and you basically forget it's there, that is very well balanced. And if you go from that to a Quest 3, the first thing is the facial interface that they give you with the Quest 3 is horrible on your face. I've never had to really get a different version of the interface on the Valve Index. I've got 6 of these now. And I use them, I clean them, and so on. The Quest 3, well, for me personally, coming from an index with outside-in tracking, which I see as the gold standard for tracking, I straight away had to get the Quest 3 the Quest Pro controllers, because I found that the Quest 3 controllers themselves didn't track as well. See, I'm a very tall person, I'm like 6 foot, and I found that in VRchat and other games, that if I relaxed and put my hands down at my side, they would be occluded from the cameras on the Quest 3. So I would be doing stuff, and sometimes when I'd be playing stuff like Beat Saber and that, I'd be reaching behind me and there's a chance of these things. You've got to remember, I'm coming from a Valve Index. I have 4 base station trackers, 1 in each corner of this room. I have pretty much perfect tracking in this room. And to go from that to the Quest 3, I noticed straight away the glitches, the thing. For someone who just doesn't go from a Valve Index, the Quest 3 probably doesn't feel as bad. For me, I had to spend almost... The Quest 3 cost £500, and on top of that, I got the Quest Pro controllers, because the Quest Pro controllers had the internal cameras, which meant they tracked themselves. And that I had to get the Bobo VR head strap with the battery. I had to get a different facial interface, and I had to get the straps that meant I could hold the... I was used to the index controllers. So that's why when I made the best possible version of the Quest 3. But still, it never felt as comfortable as this, in its stock configuration. And that was the thing. I went from, I think it was a Vive Pro to this in the beginning. And anybody who's used a Vive Pro knows that there's some issues and things that you have to do with a Vive Pro to make it really comfortable. This was amazing. Everything about it was amazing. I was so blown away about the sound. The sound quality. Up until that point, I had used the Vive, the original Oculus CV1. I had used a Gear VR, I believe it was. And I'd even had the Vive Pro in my hands and that for a while. And I was having lots of issues with it. Every single one of those headsets, I had to modify in some way. I had to get better headphones. I had to get a mod mic. Because what was giving you in those different headsets was not the whole package. Either it had a bad quality mic, a mic that could become non-functional, the headphones, if it came with headphones or audio, it was horrible. Although the Quest 3 audio isn't bad. But you cannot compare the Quest 3 audio to what this had. I still watch movies on my Valve Index. It would be much more comfortable to use the Quest 3, which I got rid of because it's wireless. But the sound quality of the Index audio and the way it isn't sitting on your ear, the way there's hardly any audio bleed for other people around you. Every part of this felt fine without any modification. The only modifications I made were these little Velcro straps to keep thingy. I got one Velcro there, and I put one on either part of here, just to make it so that this hang more from the back. And you do get, there was clips on here that was holding in place, but those clips stopped working and I lost them. So I created my own little Velcro things which held it in place and worked fine. It put less stress on the actual cable as well. But as it was, when I first put this headset on, it just felt good. It felt right. It is an amazing piece of kit. And even in 2026, I'm using that instead of other headsets. I've gone over the problems with the Pimax Crystal, the way their software layer does not seem to be the best. And the Steam VR tracking faceplate that you get for it does not work very well. I still think it was a mistake for Pimax to shut down the open source or allowing people to contribute to the software and for tweaking the actual system. So here we have the Valve Index. By the generations of VR we've got today, it's quite primitive. But you know what? In 5 years, no matter what computer I had this plugged into, no matter what time of the day it was, no matter how things were going, I knew that I could pick this up from the first time to the 1000th time, and it would just work. That was the joy of it. You see, for those that don't know, VR for me is not just a game. VR for me is not a niche thing. VR for me is part of my coping strategies. I'm autistic, I have ADHD, I have bipolar and PTSD, and I don't function outside my safe spaces. I can go catatonic and have multiple issues and that, which mean I am very severely most of the time disabled. Being on camera focuses my brain and keeps it in the here and now. It doesn't drift while I'm doing this. So having a reliable headset that was part of the actual solution was amazing, because I found that for a lot of people with mental challenges like me, putting one of these headsets on, for some reason, it focuses your brain, it connects you to in a different way, it de-stresses, it gives your brain a chance to reset. So all the things I do in VR aren't for fun, as crazy as it sounds. They are actually they are written down in my medical notes. Using VR each day, using Beat Saber, using Skyrim VR, using all these things is written down in my notes, because this system is part of my treatment. There's a lot of research going on at the moment, I believe, about using VR for autism and ADHD and all that, and how it affects the people and how it helps them. So this is going to be a long video, because I will be taking this apart as well and showing you the different parts inside it. But every headset I had other than this had issues. This is why I always come back to this. Every time I turned on the Pimax Crystal, I might need to reset it. I need to power cycle it. I might need to take the battery out and put it back in. I might need to reboot my computer. The Vive Pro, turn it on and the sound might not work. The mic not work. Might have to plug into a different USB. Might have to reset it. The Valve Index, every time I turned it on, it worked. It was a completely reliable part of my coping strategies. I never, ever had to worry about, will it work? Next time I turn it on, am I going to have to reset things? Am I going to have to rebuild it to make it function? Which added stress if I had to do that. Valve Index didn't have to do it, which is why it's still hanging up there as my main one. So I am going to just get a little set of screwdrivers, and we're going to start to take this apart. So let's pause this. Okay, so this is the front view of the valve index, my valve index. I haven't cleaned it in that, because what's the point? This is actually never going to be used again, probably not reassembled again. It would be kept as spares and thingy. But there are certain things inside it that once you take them out, I do not suggest that anybody takes apart the valve index for fun, especially if you're using it, because there is some very delicate components. There is some parts inside the unit that make it very hard to get it all back together. You can get it all back together. I've done it in the past when I had to replace the lenses, but let me just change that picture now. Remember, this is a unit that has 5 years use. 5 years use, and nearly every part of it survived intact. Let's just shut that down for a bit. Right. Okay, so I've removed the tether. I've removed the head strap thing, all the bits and pieces that you normally would take out off here before you start messing with it. I do love messing with things. So we're going to open up the front, because I'm curious to see, because the actual audio has failed on it, I want to see whether or not I can see any damage to the motherboard. So I'm going to do that. So first things first, I need to get my tiny little screwdrivers. This isn't something that I can take apart, unfortunately, with my L2T.com, my Noctua version of the thingy. It just doesn't have the tiny little talky things. I believe it's talky. Yep. So I will be back in a minute. I will pause this. Okay. When you take the first layer of the plastic face front off, which is quite easy, it's connected by 4 screws, I believe. Let me just check. Yes, 4 screws. Then you can remove it. As you can see, there's no visible damage that I can tell. Let's have a look closer in at this image. Let's have a good look at what we're seeing here. I'm not seeing anything that physically on the surface looks like it would cause issues. The connectors are all fine. Of course, there's bound to be some bits of hair and skin, dust and that in here after so many years. But I've had a good look myself at this and zoomed in on it, and I can't see anything that makes me feel like, oh my god, that's wrong. So what I'm going to do now is disconnect these 1, 2, 3 on that side, and on here disconnect a couple of these and take off the next layer. So back in a sec. Okay, so this is the full rest of the front fascia removed. Yes, there's a lot of dust in there, probably a lot of human skin in there, but that's to be expected. Anybody who deals with electronics and that knows just how much dust and skin particles and hair will get into any device. But as you can see, this is just the outer thingy with the two connectors removed. And now let's look at the main unit. Let me switch it over to the next picture. Okay. So the interesting part is this down here, and yes, all those bits of hair and everything in the unit. 5 years worth of gunk and human particles and hair. There's nothing you can do to get away with, especially with something like this that is on your face. But now, I'm hesitant to go any deeper with this. You see, let me show you some things. This little part here, you have to slide this metal thing out completely, and it is not easy to get it back in. This part here that connects here is quite delicate. It's not delicate in use, but you can easily damage this part here, which is the part that connects the front. And let me take this off now. Let me just turn this off. It's what allows all of this stuff here. It's all part of the system there, and the IPD, the way you move this. If we actually, I can show you. Oh, there we are. There. So if I do this, you can see it moving. So you can do the IPD of your eyes, and that is when I last took apart one of these, I was replacing the actual lenses, and the lenses completely come with a separate part, and they sync to a motherboard, so you had to replace pretty much the entire unit. And when you go any deeper on here, there was a couple of nightmare fuel, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me just put this image back up. Okay, so you can just see there in this corner, it's a bit blurry, but just down there, you can see a corner of a spring, and this spring goes up here. There's another spring on this side that goes behind something, and that's the part that basically, when I had taken the entire system apart, I was, how can I put it, very, very nervous, and it took you wanted 3 or 4 hands to be able to do it. So this is what a valve index looks like after 5 years use inside. Like I said, I don't think there's any point if I take it down any further, there's a chance that something will break. There's a chance that I will misalign something, and it will take me probably a long time. It is 3 a.m. I woke up at 3 a.m. and decided I was going to do this anyway. So I don't really want to go any further with this, just because there's no visible damage to the motherboard. There's no visible reason that I can see for the audio part of this to not work. So I think it's just wear and tear. Something's stopped working somewhere. but it is a wonderful piece of kit. So I'm going to pause this while I put it all back together. Okay, it's done. I will be very sad and melancholy when I use my valve index for the last time, because it has been part of a journey, part of a coping strategy, part of everything that has kept me functional. I know there will come a time when there is a better headset, but there's something really special about hardware that you can trust. Do I think the valve index is still viable in 2026? Well, for me personally, at this moment in time, in halfway through January, actually almost 3 weeks through January now, yes, I still use it. My main unit. Last night I was playing Beat Saber. Earlier on I was on VRchat with it, and it was still a usable item. To some people, the tether is a deal breaker. To some people, the Fresnel lenses are a deal breaker, because we have gone beyond that in the new headsets, and I am so looking forward to the Steam frame. But is it still usable in 2026? Damn right. It's an investment because of the lighthouse tracking and everything else, but it's still my favourite, and it's old reliable. It's old reliable. It's, if I want to go into VR, it is always there for me. It never fails me. It never doesn't work. For the record, the reason that the lenses on it broke, I think, was, thinking back, it was probably a couple of years ago. I was using it in this house, actually, and I believe that what happened was, one day I had been using my valve index, no problem, everything was working fine, and I had it on its pulley system. I always keep it up there on the pulley system, it's always up there, and for some reason one of the pulley system connectors to the ceiling failed and it fell down. Now, as far as I knew, it didn't hit the ground, but I think now, thinking back, it did hit the ground, and I think that's what did the damage inside of it on the lenses that time. All that I know is when I came back in and put it back together, it worked for a while, I think another 4 or 5 days, and then I started to see lines and that in the actual lens. So that wasn't a failing of the device, that was a failing of the... Now my headset up there is connected to like 6 different pulleys, and the place that holds it up there is connected to like 3 different sets of hooks, so that it can never happen again. I have never found that the tether, for me personally, was a negative. I become so connected to VR that as long as I've got a good pulley system, and the way I use the pulley system is, let's see if I can describe it with, let's see, have we got, give me a second, I need something. So let's look at the way it works. So you've got this port that comes from the back of the unit, and that goes over this way, across the ceiling, down to behind the PC. But if you just have it like that, it's going to pull against you. It's going to pull against you every time it pulls against those hooks that it's on. So this is what you do. You have a primary loop, primary connector up here. This is connected to the main system up there. But then you have a pulley hooked onto here that goes from, in fact, let me do even better. Okay, so these two here connect to the ceiling. And this here is the main route of cable. So they connect to the ceiling and connect to this piece here. Then you have a loop here which goes to your headset. And so when you move around, it pulls there, which you don't really feel, and you use this loop here that you've set this to the size of loop that is perfect for you, for your range of movement around the hanging. And so you're not pulling against the huge 6-foot cable. You're just pulling against this little part that you've set up here that is drawn out, and it means that you hardly feel it at all. If you've got it set up right, you will never feel the difference. You will never feel the actual thing, because it is the resistor. It's not like having 2 or 3 of these connected, and you've just got one there, and it's just keeping that loop like that. And so as you move around the room, it extends and goes back when you move more. So you are always in a position where you are not actually drawing on a 6-foot cable. It works really well the way having it that way. So what you have 2 of these Kiwi pulleys going to the ceiling, and you have them connected both with the cable that is going towards your computer and thingy, so that it's like that. And so you are using this side thing as a buffer. And as long as you do that, you will never feel the cable, because because you set it up exactly right. So you have the distance between this and this connected to your actual, from your headset, it needs to be almost perfectly aligned. So you figure it out over time. You tweak it and move it up and down to get it right. So this goes from the back of your headset up like this, and you never feel it. It's not resting against the back of your neck. It's not too short. If you have this part too short, you'll feel it pulling on you. So you have that part. Takes a little bit to sort out, but once you've got it set, from that moment on, when you put the headset on, all you ever feel is this little tiny thingy, which is, you don't feel it when you're using the headset. Instead of the entire thing. This is the problem that a lot of people have with the actual tether. They don't set up something like this. I did this like 4 years ago. Before I even had the Kiwi advanced version of these, the pulleys, I actually did it with a modular system before that wasn't as good. But the pull on these is so gentle that and then what you do is, it's all unique. Wherever your computer is and where in your room you've got your setup and how much room you've got, that's the distance that you put there so that you can move. Like this distance here that I've got mine set up, I can actually sit at this desk playing Euro Truck Simulator in VR, and it just pulls to the exact length of there. And that is still comfortable, still not pulling me back, still not doing anything. So That's a tip. If you're ever using a pulley, set it up like that. These Kiwi pulleys that you can connect, I use them with, there's a sticky kind of, I don't drill into the ceiling. I've got sticky hoops and they're very good. You can get heavy duty ones that will take 20 kilograms each. And you can place them on, and then you can use, to get rid of them, an air dryer or something like that. You heat them up a little bit with an air dryer, and then they'll peel off a lot easier, so that you don't take paint off with them. Anyway, so this is probably my final review. I don't know. 5 review and bit of a teardown of the Valve Index. I hope you're all having a good day. Bye bye for now.